Islam, y'all. All means is to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If you're able to, can you please rise and stand for the reciting of the Moorish American prayer? If you're able to, face the east in the pose, two on the left, feet at a 45-degree angle, two on the left, five on the right. You have to repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe,
Allah, the Father of the universe,
the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Father of
Father of
love,
love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
freedom, and justice.
Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation.
Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation.
By night and by day, through his holy prophet, through Ali.
By night and by day, through his holy prophet, through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islamism. No. Yeah. And I rise giving all praise to Allah, the Father God, and the highest honors to his prophet, Drew Ali. Honors to Marcus Garvey, the forerunner. Honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, Brother uh, E. Meliel. On down to the emeritus, Brother D. Belly Ill. Honors to the Grand Body and the Supreme Grand Council. Honors to our forefathers and foremothers, and honors to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All means are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to
Halen
redeem
Bay, Dayton, Ohio.
Join the
the
meeting.
Moors are the descendants of the ancient Moors who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American Prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office to Noble Drew Ali, home office Chicago, Illinois, USA, Islamism, peace and love, Muslims. Brother Colbay, can you please read the 3 writs if you're able to?
Islam, seek, I rise, give perfect praise to the great God Allah, rise, give honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, rise, give honor to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, rise, give honor to all ills and babes, all Muslims on the call and on the planet. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali, be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and the judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. Then the times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine movement of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans they do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Sunday, school, Mosques.
Islam gratitude, brother. Sister Lachey L, can you please read the additional laws if you're able to?
Islam. I rise to give all praise to the great Father God Allah. I give honors to the holy and divine Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Marcus Messiah Garvey, the forerunner of the Prophet. I give honors to all faithful Muslims on the call and all Muslims around the world. Questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all business. Each head temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the grand chief. Act 2. All members are to attend their adept meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If a member is working, his monthly fee must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as
Join the meeting.
to the Moorish uplifting funds because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I would have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we're to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. And let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam. Happy Sunday School, Muslims.
It's not gratitude, sir. Grand Sheik, Douglas, you ready to take over the show?
Islam, brother. Islam. Gratitude. Gratitude.
Islam, I yield the floor to you.
Hang on. You know what? Before we do that, let's go ahead and discuss the divine warning. Now, that was mentioned by Brother Yahweh on Holy Day. All right, first, I do want to go into the divine warning. And, I mean, there's a lot I could say about it. I do have a breakdown, actually, I believe, from Brother D. Bailey L. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's who it's from. Brother D. Bailey L. is the former Supreme Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America. He just made the transition last year. But what I'll do, as we read the divine warning, and I can bring this up here on the screen so you can see it. we'll just go over this and discuss it. Moors, if you have any commentary or any questions, feel free to speak up. You don't even have to raise your hand; just feel free to chime in. Now, in many ways, I think the prophet was speaking to us on two levels. On one hand, he was speaking to issues that were occurring right there in his face, right there in the 1920s. Then also, he was speaking to us in the present, speaking about future events and things that we would be going through right here and right now, almost 100 years later. And it's amazing that, the movement dwindled down to almost nothing. And now here we are gathered 100 years later, right? It's almost 100 years later. The prophet declared us a nation officially in 1928. Of course, they don't teach this. Nobody teaches this except for us. Nobody cares. We don't even realize we're a nation. I was just talking to my Moabites about this, talking about our neighborhoods, the Asiatic neighborhoods here in North America, and comparing it to other countries here throughout the Americas, whether you're talking about the Caribbean, Central or South America. If anyone's ever traveled maybe to Jamaica, Puerto Rico, any of these places, maybe for vacation, Cancun in Mexico, right? You probably stay at a nice resort, right? Or a nice hotel. But who owns those hotels? Like and I could be totally wrong, but I doubt this. I mean, when you go to Mexico, especially in Cancun, right? Okay, I guess everybody knows what we normally think of Mexicans. You have people that are mestizo, right, which is a mixture of well, actually a various mixture. You have the African, you have the indigenous aspect, you have the Spanish, and you even have Chinese that have been coming over there that's mixed in. But then also, just being there in Cancun, we saw a lot of people that if you just plucked them out of Mexico and dropped them off here, they look like regular so-called African Americans, and they were sprinkled all throughout the city, right? And so I'm just saying this to say that when you go to Cancun or Puerto Rico or Jamaica and you stay in the nice hotels, the nice resorts, who owns those? Like how many of those places are owned by the indigenous people, the majority of the people that live there, right? Are these places, these resorts and these big buildings, are they owned by multinational corporations? Are they owned by people from, and I'm not knocking other, countries or corporations or anything, but are they owned by, people from Sweden, Germany, the Dutch, England, people from the United States, right? Like, who owns this stuff? And so, hang on, yeah, feedback. And so you have this situation where you have entire countries, entire nations. They have, Asiatic people just like us, and they don't own a lot of these entities that are, raking in all this money, making money off of the resources of the land, right? Even things like the utilities and stuff that people need and use, things like internet and stuff like that and cell phones. A lot of times these entities aren't owned by the actual people, aren't owned by the Haitians. They aren't owned by the Jamaicans. A lot of times these things are owned by other people who don't have the best interests of those countries and communities at heart. And there's no difference from them and us. The only difference is we don't see ourselves as a nation. We are a nation just like them, right? So we have our communities, and there are people who come here from other countries. They come into our communities and set up shop. They have businesses, they have gas stations, they sell black hair care products to us, and it feeds their nation. It's a huge part of their nation's GDP. Their nation would have to figure some other way out, to sustain themselves if they got cut off, if we made our own products, There's so many people that are sending money back home, building, infrastructure in their nation, It's a huge part of their nation's GDP. So we don't even think of ourselves as a nation, but we are. So we're in the same situation. This is why the forerunner to the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey from Jamaica, but he came here to help to get us to thinking of ourselves as a nation, and also seeing our brothers and sisters across throughout the Americas and even in other countries throughout Africa as working together as a people to reunite us as a family, right? And the prophet came to continue this work, right? But first, since he's from North Carolina, one of us, he had to get us to at least see ourselves as a nation so that we can empower ourselves. All right. And so, I just wanted to share that because we're no different really than these other countries. We have the resources and the means within our own community to establish ourselves, to empower ourselves, and to have everything that we want and need. We have the doctors, the teachers, the architects, the builders. We have people with law enforcement, military background. We have everything within our own ranks to do everything that we need and see forth, and everything that we need to empower ourselves and take control of our own communities and control our own destiny. Okay, we have all of that, and there are others who benefit from our ignorance, take advantage of that, and use that to empower themselves. And it's not just us; they're doing this to entire nations. Okay. And so this is the status that we were in, the state that we were in when the prophet came to us. And in the 1920s, things were moving. We had entire communities that were prospering, even during the Great Depression. This is one of the reasons why you had these red summers, these lynchings that occurred, where you had entire communities where we owned everything, where we ran everything, even had our own bus system, our own school system, our own hospitals, everything. They were coming under attack. Even while the nation was suffering during the Great Depression, where we had our close-knit communities just working with each other, having our own businesses, we were prospering, right? And so things were looking like they're on the up and up. And so now we're in the same position now where we can get things going regardless of what's going on around us. We can prosper. Now, the prophet, before we read that divine warning, when you look at chapter 48 in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, what does it say? It says the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. That's the chapter title, the end of time. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time to redeem men by Allah, to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. So he was prepared in due time. He didn't come too early. He came in the 1920s, and it took us 100 years of experience and things, the civil rights movement and all of these things that we needed to go through to get to where we're at now. That means he was in due time. He didn't come too early. He had to come to us. He had to plant the seed so that it could begin to grow. What happens when you plant a seed in the ground? Do you go and dig it up to see if it's growing? No, you cover it with dirt. It's going to be dark. It's going to be covered in dirt. It's going to grow. You're just going to have to wait and see. So he planted the seed. He showed us how to do it. And he came right in due time. So it doesn't matter how the movement looked. There's even a statement where allegedly the prophet said, it doesn't matter how things look. At the end of the day, everything's going to wind up in the Asiatics' hands, right? There's even one where allegedly he said, that when the wheels of industry stop, once they start back, it's going to be up in our hands, up under us. Okay. Now, he didn't say it's going to happen. Just all you got to do is close your eyes and somebody going to do it for you, right? He didn't say that. We still going to have to do work. We're going to have to be industrious. But these things are all happening right on time. Just the fact that you're here means that you are a part of this glorious time, this glorious period. And then when it's saying the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies, the last prophet in these days, he's not saying like a lot of these other a lot of like Sunni Muslims and people will say in error, Prophet Muhammad is the last prophet, even though it doesn't say that. Right? That's crazy because as long as humans are here on earth and dealing with their lower self, right, we may potentially go astray. And so Allah sent us a prophet from amongst us to get us back in alignment. So when it says the end of time, when it says the last prophet in these days, we know that time moves in cycle ages, right? It's not just this linear thing like we're taught in the Western world. It's just linear. Time just goes straight forward. 200 billion years ago, the dinosaurs roamed the earth, right? We told all this stuff. Like, how do you know? Where were you 200 billion years ago, right? So we're taught that things move in a linear period. That's how we're taught in the Western world. But the prophet revealed to us that time moves in cycle ages. That's in chapter 2 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. In verse 12, it says, we measure time by cycle ages. And the gate to every age, we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. It also says, an age had passed. The gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the king of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. Right? And this, of course, was speaking about Jesus and John the Baptist. Jesus came in a time period, an age, a cycle age that many call the Piscean age. There's several names for it. The prophet Noble Drew Ali came at the end of that age to prepare us for the age we're in now, or the age we are entering into, which would be the age. Well, one of the names for it is the age of Aquarius, right? We're entering into a new age. So when it says the end of time, it's talking about the end of an age, the end of a cycle. Why? Because we measure time by cycle ages, right? So we're not given like a dumbed down view of, oh, it's the end of time. Like here, they'll show us the movies, like the movie 2012. They just showed everything happening at once. Floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, just everything. It's apocalypse. It's the end of the world. Like, no, we don't see things like that. We know that time moves in cycle ages. It's just the end of one age, the beginning of another. We have a prophet divinely prepared by Allah who was sent to us to get us in alignment with Allah, to prepare us for a new age. So remember that, Moors. I do advise going back, reading over chapter 2. Remember that. We measure time by cycle ages. We are entering into a new age. There's even a greater cycle that is around 25 to 26,000 years. So all of these smaller ages, and these ages like the Piscean age, the age of Aquarius, they're like 2,000, 2,500 years each. And then once they complete a cycle, that's a greater age, which would be 25, 26,000 years. And there's an understanding that 25 to 26,000 years is how long it takes our solar system to make it around, like a cycle, to go around the great sun, which is at the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Right? So that's like the greater year. All right. So just wanted to share that. So the prophet came right on time. And so that's also why, with this understanding, we want to pay attention to all laws, everything brought to us by our prophet. We have a divine warning by the prophet for the nation. So it says the citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, which we have, right? The prophet created a national constitution for us, the divine constitution and bylaws. So all citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family, bearing one free national name, which the prophet created for us when he deemed us Moorish Americans. Why are we Moorish Americans? Now, if we're looking at the Quran questionnaire, right? Why are we Moorish Americans? It's because we are the descendants of ancient Moroccans and born in America. because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Period. Simplest way to put it. All right. Might not always have time, or might not even really be able to explain to everybody like how, okay, we're talking about Morocco in the non-restrictive sense. We're not just talking about the present nation state of Morocco. Did you know, if you're talking to somebody asking you these questions, did you know that the Moorish Empire used to be headquartered in Spain, right? It's like it wasn't just one place. So we're talking about something that predates that. That's how we see it. That's how we look at it. And that's really all that people need to know. I wouldn't go all into chapter 47 because that's probably too much information for people. But in chapter 47, it says that in verse 6, the Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, right here, right now, where we're at. We're the founders and we are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. And with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes, right? Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. So the prophet is giving us our ancient dominions, letting us know who we are, and even giving us another story of how we got here instead of just the one story we were told about the slave trade, the great slave trade, right? The transatlantic slave trade. That's the only way that you could have gotten here. But how is that so when the Moors, our empire in Spain had to fall before Europeans were even able to come over here, right? Spain, which was Al-Andalus, fell. Moorish Spain fell in 1491. And then Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right, in 1492. So this had to happen. They had to get access to the Moorish maps. The Moorish navigators had to take them there. Columbus couldn't just sail there. The people who owned the boats, the Nino brothers, were all Moriscos, meaning they were Moorish converts to Christianity. They had to convert to Christianity in order to stay in their homeland. If you live in Spain, if you live anywhere for 800 years, that's your homeland. United States of America is what, 240 something years old? Maybe it's approaching 250, right? They celebrated the bicentennial in 1976. So it's not even 250 years old. So the Moors were in Spain 800 years. That was their homeland. So the Nino brothers owned the boats and navigated the boats that Columbus came over here when. They were Moriscos. They were Christianized Moors, right? So these Europeans weren't even able to come over here until then. So, of course, there's more to the story than just the transatlantic slave trade. That should pique the interest of any of us, regardless of what our complexion is, regardless of what our background is. That should be of interest to us because somebody's being lied to. And lies like this can hold everybody back. So there's more to it than just the transatlantic slave trade. And so when the prophet is saying that we receive permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to come and settle over here, and that we've been over here so long that we were here before the great earthquake which caused the Atlantic Ocean, that should make us want to do some more research to gain greater understanding on this, right? This has been hidden from us. And so when we go back to the divine warning, bearing one free national name, our free national name is Moorish American. So your free national name isn't such and such L or such and such Bay. It's Moorish American. That's what unifies us all under that same banner, Moorish American. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. The prophet was revealing, he removed the veil. Something that, I've said this before, but a spell was placed on us. And since we don't like to act all superstitious and, oh, a spell, he put a magic spell on, we don't like to, no, we had the Moorish Science Temple of America. So we're looking at it. This spell wasn't some spooky, magical thing. I mean, if people want to say that, they can go ahead. But we understand that it was psychology, right?
Islam.
Psychological training. A lot of work, a lot of resources were put towards miseducating us, towards burning books. This is why one of the first things that the English, the Spanish, the French did when they got over here, they went to the temples, the pyramids. They went to the temples and they got the books. They burned them. They kept the ones that they were too valuable for them to burn, and they sent them to the Vatican to be locked away in the vaults, not to be taught to the people, to be hidden away. Islam, brother Yabe, I see you. I yield the floor.
Islamism. First and foremost, I appreciate you going over this, because this is probably one of the parts of the fundamentals of being a Moorish American, is being able to understand and break down the divine warning, because it is a divine warning, meaning it's a holy warning, a warning that's coming from Allah, basically warning us of the wrath and what is it entailed. So what I wanted to go back into what you just stated and ask the question. It states, those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirable. So the question is, what is our constitutional government? Islamism.
Right, Islam. So that's another thing, as you said, that we all must know, right? So what is the name of our government? It's not the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America is the institution for exercising our religious creed. It's compared to the Catholic Church by some because of some of the similarities in the structure. The reason being so would be that, well, first off, the Catholic Church is not a nation, but the Catholic Church does represent a nation, right? The Catholic Church represents the Vatican. The Vatican operates through the Catholic Church, and there's no question about that, right? They work together because they are one and the same. If that makes sense. But the nation isn't the Catholic Church. The nation is the Vatican. Is everybody that's a Catholic even a member of the, or have citizenship in the Vatican? No. The only people who have citizenship in the Vatican would be the people who are a part of, I guess you could say, who live in Vatican City, who have a reason to be there. They're associated with the Catholic Church, meaning they have positions there as officers. And then people who are citizens of the Vatican but live in other countries are members of the clergy. And this is how come when they do things like they get in trouble, legal trouble, they don't get dealt with the same way as everyone else. The church deals with them. The church comes in and handles their priests when their priests get in trouble because they're citizens of the Vatican City, state, the Vatican. Vatican's a nation. Okay? And so the name of our nation is the Asiatic States of North America. I'll pull that up for you where the prophet broke that down. But yeah, so that is something that we should know, right? If you go to all governors, Let me pull this up. This is in Moorish literature. That's why it would be crazy for anyone to be out there trying to act like, you know, the courts don't have jurisdiction over them and saying all that stupid mess. Is like, oh, excuse my language. It's like, you don't even understand. You have no idea what you're talking about at all. You don't even hear the priest saying that from the Catholic Church because nobody has that much diplomatic immunity. Even a head of state, even a prince or a king can be brought up on murder charges and sentenced. This just happened maybe a few years ago. One of the Saudi princes was being accused of killing some journalist who was investigating them. He just disappeared, and this guy was doing everything he could to avoid being brought down on that. And he was I don't believe he actually had to. I don't believe he even had to go to court, but he was doing everything he could to avoid that. Right? Nobody has that much immunity. You can't go to some other country or the country that you live in and break the laws and then say you don't have jurisdiction over me. Nice try. But if we go to all governors, grand sheiks, and heads of all temples, let's know what this nation is called. That's in the Moorish literature. There's two of these, so this is part one. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, it said the following thing during this our first convention. So for us Moorish Americans who recognize that during our first convention, the Prophet announced to the world who we were. When he had the parade, when he draped at the parade, he draped the Moorish flag around the young sister, the flag of our ancestors, and the American flag around the young boy, the flag of our nativity, of our present day nation, right? He deemed us a nation. He declared this to the world, announced to the world who we were, who we are. There was over 10,000 people present at the first convention. At that point in time, the Prophet had over 100,000 members across the country. This is in the 1920s with no internet, no TikTok and all that stuff, right? And where the temples were, they had businesses. They were generating finances. They were nothing to be played with. And then it was headed by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So there was leadership, structure, law, and order. We had to be taken seriously. So when he announced this, even though they don't teach us about it in history class, it was a big deal. So we're going back to what was covered during our first convention. So knowing this, we pay attention. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was organized to play a useful and defined part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship, as the Moorish Divine National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America on May 1st, 1916. Excuse me. As this will have been our very first convention and most interesting one ever held in this city, it was featured by delegates from 15 different states. And remember, with him talking like this, anybody else trying to do this, that would be considered treasonous. Like they would be facing charges of sedition, treason. They would be in trouble. They'll be getting visits from the FBI or something, right? But this isn't the case for us, right? As Moorish Americans, following our prophet to a destiny that is neither uncertain nor unknown, we have every right as Moorish American Muslims to relink ourselves back in with our heritage, which was stripped from us. Nobody can come against that. This is a part of our religion. This is why we are all here, and this is why we follow our prophet. We do not deviate. We do this fearlessly, right? This is also why none of us are going to be saying anything foolish like, oh, no, we're not American citizens. We're not citizens of the USA. Not only is that on our nationality card, but the prophet said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was organized to play a useful and defined part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship. So while we are building up our nation, right, our nation's in disarray, while we're building it up, while we're learning and teaching our children and everyone who we truly are, the importance of this, right? While we do this, we are also like it's almost like we're incubated where we can grow within the United States of America with this citizenship that we still have in a country where people are coming here every year, all the time. People are coming here trying to get citizenship here, right? They come in here trying to set up a black hair care store so they can get their citizenship and get some of them American dollars, some of them fiats, right? They trying to sell gas in our neighborhood, trying to open up a quick mart, something, right? Because you can still do it. We right here. So we definitely aren't supposed to be talking anything stupid. We're supposed to be getting that done so that we can build up our nation. And the prophet gave this to us. We can do this right here in America, right? We're not anti-government, any of that foolishness, right? And also, we had to relink in back with our own nation anyway, because everybody here has their line of descent except for us. We just descend from enslaved Africans. That's what the Negro starts at. So this had to be done. The prophet did it. And so that name of the nation, which you don't hear that often, is the Asiatic states of North America uniting, right? This is what the Moorish Divine National Movement was founded for. So all of this works hand in hand. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Divine National Movement, and the Asiatic states of North America, they all work hand in hand. So we are working to unite the Asiatic states of North America. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. You can go back and read that, whether you're on the PDF or the physical copy. That's to all governors, grand sheiks, and head officials of temples. And that's part 1 in the Moorish literature. So going back to the Brother Yabe, did you have another statement or question?
Islamism. I was waiting for you to pull that back up so I can ask this. Well, it's a statement. So, as us as Moorish America as a whole, I mean, if we have a disagreement, or not even just a disagreement, let me fix those words. If we have a difference of understanding, all the Moorish Americans, on what is the name of our constitutional government, that means that we all are going to be classified as undesirables until we get that corrected. Is that right or wrong? Islamism.
That is something that needs to be handled, behind closed doors, like closed door meeting, and, if there's different leaders or different people who don't have a good understanding, they need to be brought up to speed. And for us, the prophet is the source. So if we're going off of the prophet, it shouldn't even be that difficult to show the direction that we're supposed to go in. The only place where issues would come into place is because of people's egos. They may not want to accept it because they've been doing something for a long time. Maybe they don't want to go and tell people, "Hey, I was in error." You know, it's a human trait. So I'm not like trying to say it like it's a bad thing or down it. It's just it is what it is. But the prophet is our source. So if we're sticking to the prophet, I think it's laid out pretty clear who we are, what our actual nation is. I know that's not really taught that often. So there are a lot of people who may be saying other things, you know. But if we're following the prophet, it's not just make it up as you go. Oh, this is Moorish America, right? Or just saying, "Oh, the Moorish Science Temple of America is the name of it." No, let's see what the prophet said. So if this is the Moorish Divine National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America, right? And this was, our first convention, to bring this together with the delegates from all the states. It's like, that's pretty clear to me. That's the name of our nation. But that's, I could be in error too. But go look over that. To all governors, grand sheiks, heads of all temples. Read part 1 and 2. Let me know what you think. Share that. Come back, share your feedback on everyone, because I think it's pretty clear. How the prophet worded that. And the Moorish Science Temple of America is one and the same. they're married together. Just like you can't have the Vatican without the Catholic Church. Because who's the head of the church? The Pope. So you can't have that without the other. Just like you can't have our temple without our nation, right? They're one and the same. We don't separate it. We're returning. See, we always had the government where the temple was the center and where our leader was a priest king surrounded and maintained by the priesthood. I'm not going to read that Manly P. Hall quote again because I read it all the time, but that's how it was done in ancient Egypt. And that's just one example. You find out by studying the um, indigenous cultures here throughout the Americas. That's how it was done in Mexico, Central America, throughout North America. That's just how we always did it. We don't separate religion from our way of life. And so secretly, at least those who established the Catholic Church, they're doing the same thing with the Vatican. Okay. And so, it's not like, I mean, somebody thinks that it's the Moorish Science Temple of America. I mean, they're not that far off. They're on the right train of thought. But that also, for oneness or unity in thought, we would need to have, probably, some kind of meetings, so that we can all share and in love, correct error. Islam. All right. So going back in here, so we know that those who fail to recognize the free national names are classified as undesirables, as Brother Yabe just brought up. So we have to know our line of descent, know who we truly are, just to be able to actually be citizens anywhere. Doesn't matter if you live in London, doesn't matter if you live in Jamaica, you could be in Mexico, anywhere legally or, from a legal perspective, you could still be classified as an undesirable. That doesn't mean you're going to be over there suffering, but you could potentially be classified as an undesirable because you're still connected to these inferior names that disconnect you from the family of humans. And as it says here, it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I spoke previously about Yemen. They have people that have that undesirable tag on them. All right. And the reason being is because those are the only people in that region that don't know who they are. They've suffered through wars and possibly even suffered through slavery. And now they are classified as undesirables. They get taken advantage of. They get, the worst treatment of anyone in their country. And it's not just because they're dark skinned, right? We would think that. That was why the prophet had to come and reveal the truth. He had to pull up the curtain. He had to unveil what we couldn't see. Okay. So it was like the way that we were put into this status was so subtle. It's easy to overlook. All right. And so I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. We know that in the Constitution, it says that all men are endowed with inalienable rights through their creator, right? And so all men have, everyone, right, in theory, has these rights that can't be just taken away, rights that everyone deserves and has just by being born. but they're guaranteed those rights through their creator. This is why the very first question, too, in the Quran questionnaire is who your creator is, revealing it to you. Everyone's guaranteed these rights through their creator. Who is your creator? You must know this. It's not always advantageous for us, not knocking any other religions, but it's not always advantageous for us to have the same religion that was forced on our ancestors, right? Which would, for people in the Americas, in the Western Hemisphere, for all of us, regardless of where you're from, North, South, Central America, it would be Christianity that was forced on us. And under Christianity, and then being tagged Negro, Black, colored, even with the Latino tag, right? With these tags, they were placed on us. They took us out of who we actually were as a person. There's several instances where the first things, the Spanish, the English, that everybody from Europe did when they got to the Caribbean, first thing they did was start calling those people Negroes, mulattoes. And these were the people who were indigenous to the land. They did that, and then they said that all the Tainos are dead. All the Arawaks dead. It's what we know they did that in North America. They always tell us how the Indians are all dead. There's just a few left on the reservations, right? I'm not laughing because it's funny, it's disgusting, but I'm laughing because it's like, wow, they lied. How did they get rid of all those Indians? They classified them as Negroes, colored folks, mulattoes, right? They did that on purpose. And when they reclassified you, they became your creator because they created you. And they defined in law what a Negro was. That's why we show those laws like the Negro Act of 1740, saying that the Negro is the descendant of enslaved Africans. They created something that starts at slavery. So if all men are guaranteed these inalienable rights through their creator, and your creator is the same people who wiped out or tried to destroy your line of descent and to enslave you, right? That's your creator. You can't get equal rights in this country, no matter what you do. So the prophet had to come and relink us back into who we truly are. And so the first thing that we learn in the Quran questions for Moorish children, which we should all know, which we should be teaching to our children, who made you? Allah. When you say Allah, we're not talking about some person. We're talking about the father of the universe, the creator. Can we see him? No. Why can't we see him? Because he's beyond the physical. The physical is a creation. It's something that he created. Where's the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Also taking away the mysticism. It's something personal that we're all connected to. You don't need a middleman, right? So the prophet had to return this to us just so that we could be humans, just so that we could have the same rights as everyone else. Not even trying to come and say that, oh, we're above everybody. Just so that we could be treated like true citizens. All right. And that's why the prophet said that it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. If you come in, you understand this. If this even makes a little bit of sense to you, now you have to know, oh gosh, I have to change the way that I think. I need to teach this to my children. We can't cling to the names and labels, that principles that delude to slavery. We can't. We're starting to find out that Black people are pretty easy to control. They can control them with rap music, right? With popular pop culture. They can get a whole bunch of them to go in a negative direction that is, bad for the communities, bad for themselves, creating broken homes, all types of things that will lead to further destruction. So we got to come out of that program and come into our own. We have a divine program that was prepared by the prophet for us to assure our earthly and divine salvation. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens. One of the things being pushed to our people is that it's cool to be savage, lawless, to be a criminal. It's cool to be criminal. You got women out there that want men that look like they might be in a criminal activity, right? And we're trained to be like that. Now we're trained as men to think it's cool to actually to participate in criminal activity. We have people, grown-ups, making music, trying to influence people, trying to make children think that it's cool to participate in criminal activity. Moorish Americans are not going in that route. We're going in the opposite direction. This is also why the prophet said that, hey, he's the prophet in these last days and times, this end times, the end of this cycle. Meaning a lot of people may not understand. They may have to learn the hard way that this is not going to work for them. The prophet came to warn his people to repent from their sinful ways, right? Return to the ways of our ancestors, not our ancestors in their fall, but at their highest of heights. So according to the free national constitution that was prepared by all free national beings, we will have our divine right as citizens just by coming back in and being Moorish American and returning to the state of mind of our forefathers' divine and national principles. That's all we have to do. And then not only do we have the same rights as everyone else, but then we can build our nation unhindered upon. We can build our own nation right here. We don't have to get up and go anywhere else. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. Why don't we have to go somewhere else? Because our ancestors have been here so long. They've been here longer than anyone else. We were here before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Nobody has to agree with us. We don't have to prove that to anyone. This is a part of our religion. Nobody can touch religions. There's but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. Why is it recognized? Because going back to 1928, at this point, they have over 100,000 members. It's self-sustainable just by that amount of people that it has. They have a economy where every temple is, in every city, every state where the temples are, they have businesses. They're generating finances amongst each other, right? There's a per capita tax. So they have a national government where they're collecting finances, have a national treasury, and then each temple has a treasury, right? So it's a self-sustainable economy, and it's moving as a government. So it is a government. There is a structure, right? There is leadership, so it's capable of, enacting law amongst themselves. And then the prophet was moving in circles, meeting with governors and senators and being recognized as the head of the Asiatic states of North America. When he goes to Cuba to represent the Moorish Americans, right, at the Pan American Conference, he goes there as a head of state. And man, if I can, I'm gonna show you guys that shipping manifest. It shows this. This actually happened. This isn't just some rumor. It's not just a rumor. This really happened. So the prophet really did go to Cuba. He did really represent us as a head of state. He was recognized, okay? And they don't teach us about this, but this did actually occur. And yeah, let me show you this travel docket. This actually came from, I believe, ancestry.com. Shout out to the good Moors who did the work on uncovering this document. But you look at that shipping manifest, it says January 25th, 1928. This is for the ship returning from Havana, Cuba. So January 25th, 1928, the ship is returning to the United States from Cuba. And it says right there, number 2, it says, Drew, Ali, age 42. All right. And then it says Norfolk, Virginia, but it says his birthday, which was January 8th, 1886. Under that, it says Charles K. Bay, which was Kirkland Bay, age 44. I guess it says North Dakota, September 7th, 1885. All right. And that's from January 25th, 1928. This was on ancestry.com. Okay. And so this was the ship returning back from Cuba. The prophet traveled to the Pan American Conference, and he didn't just go there and visit. Like, you can go to the United Nations now and you can visit and all you want, but are you going to be able to get up at the podium and speak as a head of state? Are you going to be recognized by the other nations there as a head of state and be able to command the floor? No. Maybe you can. I can't. Right? I'm just keeping it real. You're not going to be able to do that. So the prophet really did this. And it's not something that just inspired. Just going back to that document that I just showed. So the prophet moved as a head of state, represented us. All we have to do is claim our own free national name and religion. We are Moorish American Muslims. That's the only issue that we need to be recognized by this government and of the earth. All right. And then through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens. That they can cast a free national ballot under the polls of the free national constitution of the United States and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. This is the thing that people will say, because, it was a big deal to vote back then, right? We weren't all able to just vote and, put people in office unmolested by other citizens. Meaning, in the 1920s, it wasn't easy for people classified as Negro to vote. Everybody wasn't just able to go to the polls and vote. They couldn't just get together like in places like Mississippi and be like, okay, we're the majority or we're almost the majority here. Let's go on and put our own people in office. It wasn't always that easy, especially once the Jim Crow laws came into effect, right? They were like actively trying to intimidate and punish us for doing these things. So it wasn't that simple and easy. But the prophet said we could do it just by coming in being who we truly are as Moorish Americans. And so somebody can say, well, that was then, man. We don't need that now. I can go and vote, right? But then it's like, look, we don't have the same rights as everyone else. As if we did, why does our right to vote have to be renewed every 25 years? Let's look at that. Now you'll see it says like 1965, right? Voting rights for African Americans. We need our own little special provision so that we can vote. We don't have the same rights under the Constitution as everybody else has. Nobody notices this, right? When Charlemagne the God talked to the dude Joe Biden, asking him what he's going to do for our people, he said something real slick, and nobody caught it. Only a handful of Moors caught it. They're like, aha! He said, well, I renewed y'all's right to vote. Nobody pressed them on that because they don't want to talk about the fact that our rights to vote have to be renewed every 25, 26 years. And the last president that renewed our right to vote was George Bush, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is crazy. This should make a lot of people wake up. This is ridiculous. Why do we have to go through this? Why? George Bush, the same one that called our people refugees during Hurricane Katrina. Bush signs Voting Rights Act extension. This is from NBC News. This is from Washington Times. Just so that you guys know this in some goofball internet meme. So the stuff that the prophet, the only reason I'm showing this is because it lines up. The prophet brought this in our divine warning, and it's still in force. it still applies. So everything that we have, we think we have rights, man. We can get out and vote. It's a fallacy. There are people we've been over here forever. We've been over here. We've fought in every war. All the work that we've gone through in this country, and we don't even have the right to vote. That should make somebody mad. That should make somebody want to at least look into this. I don't know why this page isn't loading, but it does mention that this Voting Rights Act, see, they don't say in the headline, Black people's right to vote or African Americans' right to vote has to be renewed every 25 years, because that might make some people start to think like, hey, what is that talk? What do you mean? So it just says Voting Right Act renewed for 25 years by the president. This is from 2006. That was current news at the time. I can't get this to go down or what's going on. So try this one from NBC. It's going to say the same thing. President Bush on Thursday signed legislation extending for 25 years the Voting Rights Act, the historic 1965 law which opened polls to millions of Black Americans by outlawing racist voting practices in the South. So, and this happens every 25 years. So Bush did this back in 2006, right? So somebody add 25 to 6, right? We looking at like what, 2031? 2031, the rights for Black people to vote is going to have to get renewed again. The historic 1965 law opened the polls to Black Americans. So everyone else, even somebody who comes here from another country, when they get their citizenship, they have the right to vote. Their people don't have to get their rights to vote every 25 years. But your people who've been here for countless generations, help build this nation, have to get your rights to vote every 25 years, have to get it renewed. That's ridiculous. That's a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face. Ain't nobody talking about that. That, you know, the Charlemagne, the guy, he didn't press Joe Biden about that. Like, what do you mean you renewed y'all's right to vote? Trying to use the Black vernacular. I renewed y'all's right to vote. Like, what, huh? You renewed our right. Oh, like, what we supposed to do? Is thank you, master. Good job. So this is what we go through. So people will say, well, that's outdated. We don't need a prophet. What are you talking about? We got rights. We don't have anything. It's all an illusion. They can't come out and say this because that might make people start to wake up. They might start to make people ask questions or at least looking to see what the Moors have been talking about. It's hidden in our face, though. You see the wording. They just say the Voting Rights Act. They don't specify who it's for until you look into specifics. Go. I asked Moors. I ask everyone here. Look up the Voting Rights Act. Look it up. Look it up. Look on Wikipedia. See what it says. It's only aimed at us. That's a slap in our face, right? Each state determines who votes. So we get a granted privilege to vote. And it took a federal law, to say, okay, y'all got to let those Negroes vote. I mean, Black people, I mean, colored, I mean, African American. You got to let them vote. Right? We don't want them to realize that they're still not fully human. Okay, so you who doubt whether I the prophet, and I'm just saying this is still relevant, people. That's one thing you can point out to anybody like that. That should make anybody, question this, man. It doesn't matter who you are. We've been here for a long time. Even if you don't know anything about history, you don't care about history at all. The so-called Black people been here since the beginning. We've been here for a long time. We participated in everything as far as this country is concerned. It wouldn't be what it is without us. Why don't we have the same right as everyone else? That's ridiculous. You who doubt whether I the prophet and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Some people view us as a burden on the system in our current state. And for some, that's the only reason they would be glad to see us come into who we truly are and be able to fulfill our potential. And then some people, they not with all this mess. They don't want to see people getting held down. But the thing is, nobody's going to reveal that understands what's going on unless you can speak to them in an intelligent tone. You can't speak in an intelligent tone unless you know who you truly are, right? Because you're not intelligent if you don't know who you are. You're not. None of us are. And then also in an intelligent tone, not speaking from emotion, right? Being smart. I mean, that's a simple way, being straight to the point and direct, but also actually understanding who you are, which allows you to have a better understanding of how this system works. And then the prophet says, money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man in a nation, which is why, it doesn't matter individually having wealth, even having some wealthy communities. They say some of the richest zip codes in the United States are areas like Prince George's County, which is mostly our people, right? But free national standards and power is what actually makes a man in a nation, meaning actually having our own goals as Moorish Americans, right? When we look in our Constitution, our divine Constitution and bylaws, we're all told to participate in the uplifting acts. All of us are to. We're all to become a part and partial of the uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America, meaning we have local and national goals, right, that we work towards. So if we have a lot of money, but we're not putting up for our own interests and goals, we don't have anything. That's why he's saying money doesn't make you a man. It's free national standards and power that makes a man in a nation, right? If you're Filipino or, Vietnamese or something like that, and you're here and you have Vietnamese societies and things like this, like, even though most of us don't even know about that, they have these little clubs and societies where they make plans and goals for their own communities, right? So just having that makes us powerful regardless of how much money we have. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens to stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. This is a call out there to everyone, like all the patriots, all these people. If you're a real patriot, you're going to assist us, right? We can use the Bible to show you how you're supposed to be assisted. We can point that out. Now, everybody's not going to heed the call and do what they're supposed to, but, technically, you're supposed to assist. Help me to save my people, especially going back to this, the fact that we want to clean up our own neighborhoods. We're not blaming everybody else for what we're going through. The prophet says that we suffer because we cling to the names and labels, the inferior names, We're sinning. We suffer for our sinful ways. Right? Isn't that what everybody wants us to say? We pull up ourselves by our bootstraps. Like we want to repent from sin. We want to clean up our own communities, neighborhoods, right? So you need to assist. Right? So the prophet saying, help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. Once again, you hear any more talking against this stuff, man. They out there, man. Ain't nothing you can do for them. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government, right? we're violating the national and constitutional laws of our own government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other citizens alike in all governments. When a man is born and raised there and asks for his free national name, his national descent name, and he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name. It says ours is, it says Moabite Moroccan, founders of the Moroccan Empire, which would be for us Moorish American, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers, right? Our forefathers wouldn't even be able to recognize Negro, Black, colored, African American. That doesn't tie you back into anything. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. All of this stuff was hidden in the scriptures, hidden in the Bible, and it referred to us, and we didn't even know, right? So now we can truly look and see. This is also the speaking in an intelligent tone. Now we can truly discern what we see before us, right? Now also, when we can trace ourselves through history, even right here in the Americas. Now we can understand why Phoenician artifacts are found all throughout the Americas, from North America down to Brazil and Argentina. Now we can truly speak in an intelligent tone. We couldn't do that as Black people, as descendants of enslaved Africans. We don't start at slavery. Everyone has been enslaved at one point in time in this world. We don't cling to that. We don't fall in love with the enslaved victim mentality. We don't, right? So these names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. We were always taught that this was to give us rights as citizens. But in actuality, the Southerners ceded the Union, right? The Confederates, they tried to form their own nation, and now they're coming back into the United States. This allowed them to do so. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by their free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. The prophet is letting it be known, like as was said before, that we have all rights. We have inalienable rights endowed to us through our Creator. We have to know who our Creator is, right? Because as Black people, we don't even know that on the low, secretly, we're admitting that the Europeans who colonized us, right, who raped and did all of these things to trick us out of who we are, they created you. So there's but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. We're given two potential situations, which we're at a crossroads now. May seem like this couldn't even happen, but it all depends on how fast or how slowly we get ourselves together. This is all dependent on us. Not saying that other people don't matter. Just going back to our Quran, what did we read about, right, in chapter 45? What did the prophets say about civilization? The keys to civilization. Whose hands are these keys in, or whose hand is the key in? The key to civilization is exactly Islam. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. So it's still in our hands. Okay? And so we're at a crossroads. If we get it together, come in to be who we truly are, then love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. Why? Because the key to civilization is in our hands. That's why they want to control the Negro. That's why you want to give them little trinkets and little, little rewards for promoting ignorance, for promoting things that harm us when we actually follow that and when we're influenced by it. And we don't just influence ourselves, then we influence the world. Because the key to civilization is in our hands. So when we're living off of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, now little children, teenagers, grown-ups, people from other countries will think that it's cool to live off of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Believe it or not. All types of people from all ethnic backgrounds. They will think that it's cool to be good people, to do their best to be good people. We're leaders, right? And this is how we could potentially lead the United States to be the greatest civilized and prosperous government in this world. And we will be able to live here unharmed. We'll be able to fulfill our destiny, our highest destiny, unhindered upon. Believe it or not. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, right, his people, the Moorish Americans don't even want to do what's right, then the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America, not by other people, by my people. He's not pleased by the works of us, because we're supposed to know better. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. So things that are out of our control, like earthquakes, disease, right? Even man-made diseases that are being spread and things like that. We won't be able to stop it. And this stuff has already started happening. So it looks like that's the direction we're going in. We can change things in a heartbeat, though, but it looks like it's going in that direction. And I, the prophet, do hear and believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens, right? The prophet knows how to speak to people. You don't talk down on the people, right? They're wise. They're geniuses. Come on, do what's right. Appealing to the people, right? We're not supposed to be out here talking bad about Europeans or anyone else. We live off of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, not hatred, right? And we want to appeal to the higher nature. So you're calling on the people who control the government. You're calling on the true American citizens. You're geniuses. You did a great job. You're wise. This is what you're calling on, their higher nature. Come through, right? You believe in the free national constitution and laws, right? You really believe it? Okay, prove it. And through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of men that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc. So yes, there is an element that wants to keep us, the lowly so-called black people who are truly Moorish Americans, they want to keep us going in a negative direction. But we're calling for those true American citizens that have morals, the true Christians out there, to assist us in removing sin from our communities, from the way that we act, right? Because we have fallen from the true light into the utter darkness of sin, right? And this is only going to continue the degradation of the nation. So we're calling on the higher nature of everyone. You know, it's a plea. We're not out here on some ignorant level. We're being honest. We're calling on all true American citizens to assist us, right? And so, you know, in the present condition that we're in, this lowly condition, of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. The prophet is talking about us, not talking about anyone else. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. Now, he was saying this in the 20s, but he could have easily been saying this in the 2020s, talking to us right here and now. We know this is true. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance. Put your money where your mouth is to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light from the prophet. Islam, this is truly a divine warning. It's a call out there to all true American citizens. Remember, Moorish Americans, we don't go out there talking bad about Christianity, talking bad about people of European descent. We're not against anyone. We truly do work and endeavor to live off of the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice for all, right? Not just for one segment, for all. Now, we do have an understanding that the key to civilization was in the past and it is right now in our very hands, those that everyone else overlooks. It's in our hands, meaning that if we get ourselves together, if we truly, even just a handful of us, come in and get it right and take this seriously, we can change the entire world, Morris. That's why we're here. I believe that's truly why you are all here. It's not like you had a bunch of people trying to teach this to you. It's not like the school system or the TV was trying to teach this to you. You're here because you're heeding the call. It's in your DNA. You're here. You're right on time. So we try for the first scenario the prophet gave, the highest of high, where we switch and change things around right now without these earthquakes and all of these things getting even worse, right? We're seeing these things happen now, this extreme weather and stuff, so that we can see the warning and heed it, right? But we're going to try to bring things about right now. We're going to do our best. And honestly, I believe that's why we're all here, Morris. So on that note, though, I know I'm taking a long time. I yield the floor. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to speak. Islam.
Well, first I want to rise, give praise to Allah, honor to his prophet, Noble Ali, honor to all the true and divine prophets, honor to Marcus Messiah Garvey, and honor to everybody on the call, and honors to everything Moorish. I going back to the name of our constitutional government. The prophet made a statement in the divine plea to a nation, I believe is the title of the article. I don't have it in front of me, but he made the statement that without a national descent flag of your forefathers, there's not a divine title in the government in which we live. What exactly does that statement mean? Islam.
Okay, Islam. So yeah, going back into the divine warning. So the prophet is just letting it be known that everyone has a line of descent. Everyone descends from a civilized people in the world. Everybody, right? And if you don't or cannot trace yourselves back to a civilized nation, you are vulnerable. At the end of the day, that's the simplest way that I could verbalize it. If you can't trace yourself back to a civilized people, you're vulnerable. You're subject to your fellow, I guess you could say your fellow citizens. If they want to treat you right, they can. If they don't, if they want to take advantage of you, they can. They could do it. You know, they could rape your women. Don't have to worry about, you know, going to jail or prison for it. They can do whatever they want to you because you're not a civilized people. You descend from savages. You know, you can't trace yourselves back. Everyone has to be able to trace themselves back to a civilized nation. Like even if you're in a country like China where most of the people there are Chinese, right? They're all Chinese, so it's not a problem. But if you move there and say you're in a country like the United States of America where there's a bunch of people here from all these different places in the world, all of them have to be able to trace themselves back. So if you had a whole bunch of so-called African Americans say we're gonna move to China, and now like 2-3 million of us gonna move to China, we subject to. I mean, there's no telling what they would do to us because moving there as black people is, hey, we the black people, you know, we black Americans, we foundational black Americans or whatever. There's no people like that anywhere in history. You know, what kind of laws do you guys have? Who are you? What's your religion? How do you conduct themselves? Oh, let me look up black Americans. They look up black Americans. What are they going to see? Are they going to see rap videos? Like, what are they going to see? That might determine how they're going to treat you. It's not good. Now, everybody might not know who the Moors are, but all nations of the world do. The Moors brought civilization everywhere they went, and we have legit claim to that. So from our perspective, this is what we need to link ourselves back into so that we can take our rightful place in the world. Right? But you know, we definitely can't be black because somebody created black people and defined them. They literally spend all of these resources, all of this time defining them as descendants of enslaved Africans, and now they control their image. They got black people looking like savages. So of course we're not going to be treated with the respect and dignity that we deserve. You know, that might turn some people off too, that the prophet came and said we suffer, you know, because, you know, we won't repent from our sinful ways. We cling to these labels that delude to slavery. A lot of people might not want to hear that, but it's the truth. The prophet had to reveal this to us because what we're creators, man. At the end of the day, nobody can rule over us unless we allow them to. All right, but that's what they're saying though about like those who fail to recognize their free national constitution, those who, you know, who can't link themselves back in with a civilized people, you're gonna suffer at the end of the day. And when we look at that, the standard form 181, which basically lists all the ethnic major ethnic groups in this country, it lists and defines them. When you look at what it has for African American, black, we're still not connected to an original people of the world. We're the only ones. Everyone else is connected to an original people. That can't be an accident. There's no way that could be an accident, especially knowing the history of the term Negro and how it descends from enslaved Africans. Looking at it in the proper context, okay, we see that, okay, they're still doing this to us, right? They still have us kind of outside of the human family. Everybody else is connected to an original people, except black. Black is a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. And you look at everyone else, you can just look up SF 181. Everyone else is connected to an original people. So once again, the prophet is right. And it's always been right there in our face. And this is still used by the government today to classify the different ethnic or racial groups. Right. And that's another slap in the face. Right. But we're the only ones that would be able to look at that and interpret that correctly. You know, and even showing this to a regular person, they should have issue with that. A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa, well, how come white Native Hawaiian, Asian, American Indian? How come everyone else comes from an original people? All right. So we're not even realizing they're saying we savages. We weren't civilized. They gave us civilization when they gave us a religion and made us their slave, Islam. So that's crazy, y'all. Are there any other questions or comments? Brother, did I answer the question that you had?
Islam, somewhat.
Okay, yeah, Islam. So I was trying to find that quote in there about the flag, but he's basically telling
Islam,
us, yeah.
is, Islam. It's in a divine plea. It's not in the divine warning.
Okay.
Or a prophet makes a plea to a nation. That's which article it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, but without a free national name, without a descent flag of your forefathers, there's not a national divine title of the government in which we live. These are all things just implying that you come from a civilized people that are capable of governing themselves. Free national name, a flag of descent of your forefathers, right? Without any of these, you can't tie yourselves back into a civilized people. That's it. And without that capability, you're in undesirable status. And it doesn't really matter where you live. That's why I was trying to say that there's people in Yemen who are going through a similar situation. They're in their homeland, I believe. They've been in Yemen for a long time, but since their people have suffered through war and possibly even been enslaved, they've lost their history, their line of descent. They don't have, they're just like us. They don't have a name in which they call themselves. They have a nickname, and their nickname alludes to that word, not undesirable, but man, I forget. Untouchable. It may I don't think it's untouchable, but they let me see if I can find it, man. They have another nickname and they actually use that nickname just like we do. And it's just like black. It's not something that ties them into who they are. And then also it's a name that well, okay. I got an article up here. But this is just another thing with the divine, with not having those ties, right? All right. So yeah, Yemen's untouchables. They call themselves Muhammadin. That means the marginalized. That's just like us taking on a name that means victim, right? A dark-skinned ethnic group that for centuries has been consigned to the bottom of Yemen's social scale, faced with discrimination and racism, shunned by others. But it's not just because they're dark-skinned; it's because they don't have their line of descent, and it's not like they want to be in that position. They've suffered through different things in the past that disconnected themselves from who they are. And so instead of the other people being kind and trying to assist them, they take advantage of them. They they push them to the bottom of society and they exploit that fact that like most of us, they don't know who they truly are. Right? We think we smart when oh yeah, I'm descendant of slaves. Right? But that was the narrative that was given to us by the same people that did enslave our ancestors, whether they actually held them in chains or whether it was actually the slavery that we went through was being branded as a Negro and losing your rights. Being a Negro in the 1800s meant you can't own land, means you can't own guns, you can't own your own business. It means if you got those things, somebody could just claim you're a Negro and take it from you. That's why Abraham Lincoln was defending William Dungy in the case of one of his lighter skinned cousins who was European or passing for European, accused him of being a Negro. so that he could take his land. Why? Because he was dark skinned, he would have been classified as black today, and it was that easy. Okay, and so yeah, you have a people who are in a similar position to us. So this is what the prophet is talking about, and it's not like we're the only ones going through it, right? If you read this article, it's I'll share it in here. You can check that out later. But you know, another people who don't have their national flag or the flag of their ancestors, right? They don't even know what to call themselves. They don't have a free national name. They're calling themselves a nickname, which is meant to, you know, show the position they're in. They're the marginalized, right? So that's definitely, you know, that's a good example of people that are actually in that same predicament with us, literally. All right. They don't have that flag of their ancestors' descent. They don't have that free national name, and they can't connect themselves to an ancient civilized people, and they suffer. You're at the mercy of the kindness of your, you know, fellow humans, right? And it's not always a good position to be in. Okay. And then for us in America, it's definitely not a good position to be in because the key to civilization is in our hands. We have to get it right. We have to show the world how to act right, show them how to have kindness, show them how to live off of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It's not going to be right until we do it. So, you know, that's why the prophet put it right back on us. Did that further clarify or answer your question, brother?
Islam. Yeah, we could talk about it a little more extensively, probably off mic. Islam.
Islam. All right. So yeah, definitely go look that up later on. You see actual people who are in the same predicament, man. No flag, no national name, and they suffer. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? All right. But you know, that is some good homework if people want to look that up about Yemen's untouchables. Another clear example, people who don't have their free national name, don't have their flag, and they suffer. And this is why, you know, our own people can get gunned down in their own country by the law enforcement that's supposed to be working, serving, and protecting them. You know, they're not supposed to be subjugating them, trying to you know, keep us in a fearful position and trying to, assassinate our people. They can do it freely because they know they're not going to serve any time for that. Right? That's not supposed to be occurring in this country, and especially not to people like us who've been here forever. All right. So yeah. On that note though, if there are no further questions or comments, let's go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. Yeah. So the temple, the only remedy that the temple has for that is first off moving together as a collective, getting our finances up, building our own communities, working, pushing national, national and local agendas to change the laws, to get the protection that we need, to force the issue. One thing that can be done that can affect it immediately would be to have influence with the sheriff, right? The highest law enforcement official in your county. Now, if we're a collective, we have a voting block, we have this many people, we do have some influence. All right. And it's something that everybody has. It's not just our skin color. They'll tell us that. They'll let us think that. But we have a Somalian community right here in Columbus, right? And I guarantee you, there's some areas in Columbus where a lot of Somalian people live. I guarantee you, the police in the Somalian community do not treat them the same way police do in our communities. and we've been here way longer. The police that's in the Somalian community have to serve them. They might even have to have like a translator on deck just in case, they need somebody who speaks the, Amharic or whatever language they speak, it's Somali, speak their language, you know, and they have to have compassion. They have to have understanding for potential cultural differences because they serve that community. And so they're like, it's not, I don't want to say it's not our fault 'cause the prophet put it back on us, but they understand we come here. Okay. First thing we doing, we getting some Somalis in, in office, in city council, in Congress, and we working as a collective to make sure we got the protections we need. Right. And of course, we're capable of doing all these things too. Right. We have people from our community. Just because they look like us don't mean they actually trying to actually better our communities. But it's not really that hard. That's a remedy that could be applied quickly by pushing our agenda and seeing it through to the end. As we get more finances, not only do we just vote, no, we have a committee that's actually going and following up and pushing, enforcing our agenda. Like, we put you in office to do this. This is what you need to do. And that's for everyone, law enforcement, right? The sheriff has to run for office. He has to be reelected. There's no reason there should be anyone in our community is over here trying to, think they here to subjugate us, right? So, and that takes organization. That takes, we're going to have people that's actually dedicated, that's actually ready to see this through to the end, you know, but it can be done, and it can be done just through a practical level of, working the system, how it was set up to be. So it's not really, something that couldn't be done or something that's difficult. There's people who come here who haven't been here but maybe 20 years, and they already got more protections than us. So there's no reason why we can't do it. Islam, brother Yabe, I see you. I yield the floor.
Islamism Grand Sheikh. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for going over the divine warning. I appreciate whenever we can go within the prophet's writings. That's very important for every more. I would like to ask a question, and the question is based off of the questionnaire, but it's an additional law, and I want to know what your take on it. It says Act 2, all members are to attend their ADUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. So my question is this saying that all members are supposed to attend ADUP meetings, that all members supposed to be ADUPs? I know that all sheiks are supposed to be ADUPs, but I know that all ADUPs aren't sheiks. So are all members supposed to be ADUPs or attend ADUP meetings? Islamism.
That's not practical because all members don't even intend to be adepts, you know. So when it's saying, to attend all meetings, just the meetings that you are required to attend, which for most is just going to be, Holy Day and Sunday school. But like, just keeping it real, everybody don't intend to. There's a lot of members that don't even want to do that, right? They're not even gonna do it. So, um, you know, that's all. Yeah, that's not saying that all members are supposed to be adepts because that's just not realistic. Most people don't want to go that far. All right, and then one of the reasons being would be, even by becoming an adept, the expectations of are supposed to be higher. You're supposed to endeavor even more to follow the prophet, right? To abide by the prophet's laws, and so that's too much to ask for many people. But yeah, the ADEPs are the only ones that are required to attend the ADEP meetings. All right. Okay. So yeah, if there's no more questions or comments, I want to announce without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting. We already read all of the writs. I'll just put that call out there for donations if you are able to. If you are called to assist our temple, please send a donation. Just go to moorishamericans.com, scroll down to the bottom and use that donate button on there and send a donation to our temple. And on that note, let's go ahead and close this meeting. Now all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I ask that all members please stand and face the east only if you are able to. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed, and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, peace and love, Moors. This meeting is now adjourned.
Islam. Peace and love.
Islam, happy holiday, Moorish.
Peace and love. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Muslim.
Islam, peace and love, Moorish.
Peace and love,
Peace.
family.
Peace and love.